everybody and welcome back to the funniest tweets. Today we are going to talk about the British Grand Prix. Now you might notice I'm a bit croaky. My voice is not as crisp as it once was, and that is purely down to one man doing one thing on the first lap of the British Grand Prix. I shrieked when Lando Norris took the lead, and I've been suffering ever since. Genuinely, that is the one time I think my voice box nearly left my body, and I'm now paying the price. But anyway, let's get into your reactions because they were amazing. Ferrari pain. Let's just get it out the way now, shall we? Ferrari. How are they going from 4th and 5th on the grid to 9th and 10th at the end of the race? At CLN_Najisa. Guess what's back in town? The Ferrari pitwall circus. I haven't really been able to process nor figure out what they were thinking. Now, of course, hindsight is a beautiful thing when you take into account strategy blunders, things that don't work out during a race. But Charles Leclerc pitting after, I think it was 19 laps on the mediums. Russell went well into the 20s on the softs, maybe even the 30s. They basically pit Leclerc into traffic and were like, hard tyres, mate. Nah, that's all good, mate. That's all we need. Hard tyres, bit of traffic, lovely. On paper, that didn't look good, and it didn't work out. At Chris Knight_23 from P4 and 5 to 9th and 10th. Nothing to smile about. It's funny because, I actually don't feel pain coming out of the British Grand Prix because I am so absolutely buzzing for McLaren and what they achieved this weekend. For Lando Norris to be on the podium, Oscar Piastri narrowly missing out, but still an unbelievable drive. I just diverted my attention to the McLaren masterclass that went on this weekend. So I don't know if I don't feel pain anymore because I think I do. When I think about it, when I have to make a section in funniest tweets, it all starts to bubble up like, my God, Ferrari had a horrendous race, didn't they? But I'm just focusing on McLaren, the Papaya Army, because they have success and we don't. At Mark Nicholas 418, it's a Williams sandwich. Now that, again, when you look at the finishing results and you go, wow. Both Ferraris got beaten by Alex Albon. Now, no disrespect to Alex or to Williams because they have started to move forward. But it also suggests that Ferrari are going backwards. If McLaren now have a solid car, Williams potentially are moving forward, Aston Martin are a little bit high and low, but if they pick up as well, all of a sudden, a lot of slots in the points are getting taken up. If Ferrari are going backwards, see, I'm so brain frazzled from this weekend, which I will talk about in a moment, but if all of those teams are moving forward, Ferrari will then start to be knocked out in Q2, not be scoring points, and I'll be flipping tables. At Pillar_Martinez B, I am dead inside. Now let's talk about Carlos Sainz. Just left him out on hard tyres. What is it with Ferrari loving having their drivers as sitting ducks? Because that's kind of what the British Grand Prix was last year. Not going to bring it up. Why didn't they pit Leclerc? And then this year as well with Carlos Sainz. He had no pace whatsoever. I know they rolled the dice, but what was the dice? What was on it? What was possibly going to happen with old hard tyres? Spoiler alert, nothing. Nothing good anyway. At Sherman60974918, Sainz losing 3 positions in 3 corners. He fell like a stone. As soon as he went a little bit offline, his tyres were like, absolutely not, mate. I am done here. These hard tyres finished. Around everyone's on softs, potentially mediums, a few people, but a lot of drivers, a lot of teams were like, let's go on the fast strategy. But for Sainz, no. At Sergio_Dow, Ferrari's strategy today felt like driving with Ferrari slippers, apparently. As much as that maybe doesn't make sense, it also does. Do you feel me? Got a couple more so we can move on. At Kojo___ Ferrari today. Yeah, it was one of those, wasn't it? It was like that. Let's just focus on McLaren. Let's focus on the front. Let's focus on good stories. Oh, dearie me, it's just not good, isn't it? And the final one is at Roxy Tar, trying to understand Ferrari's strategies. Because, of course, Leclerc was out on those hard tyres, I'd say about, 15 or so laps. And then, of course, K-Mag hit the explode button. And then Charles came back in the pits again, whacked on some mediums, which obviously is slightly faster. Not the softs though, even though, people go, oh, they only had used softs. Did you see the state of Hamilton's soft tyres when he pit? They were pretty destroyed before they even were left the pits. But they still went on used softs and he was quick. Let's just move on, shall we, before my voice goes. McLaren magic. Right, we're now on to positivity. McLaren, what a weekend for you fans that support the Papaya team. At Bruep, fact, paint upgrades makes cars go faster. I love this little edit, it's beautiful actually. And it's funny because chrome, that sort of paint job, is supposed to be heavier and therefore make the car obviously very fractionally slower, but then the rest of the upgrades, unbelievable. Piastri still lacking some upgrades to match what Norris has, but both of them were unbelievable. I am so happy for McLaren. They're just a team that is so lovable, and it's so good to see that they're the only team that gave any kind of fight to Red Bull, so thank you. At Conor Moorcroft, Lando after he asked for soft tyres and McLaren gave him the hards. Now at this point, I will admit, I was like, what are McLaren doing right now? Are they doing a Ferrari? Hard tyres at Silverstone, they are definitely the best. But actually, I will say, it wasn't as horrendous as I thought it was going to be. Now, Lando was very vocal and said that he wanted the soft tyres, was communicating with them saying, use soft tyres on. McLaren decided to go for the hards, which in the first few laps were devastatingly slow, but Norris put on an unbelievable display of defensive driving to keep Hamilton behind, and then they got into their working temperatures, and then he was okay. It does make me think what those soft tyres potentially would have done, because Verstappen said he was struggling, Hamilton was clearly struggling towards the end on those softs as well, but I would have loved to seen Lando on the soft tyres attacking Max for the win. Wouldn't we all? At turn to page 394, McLaren's pace was unbelievable this weekend. Look what they need to mimic a fraction of our power. Of course, it was self-inflicted. McLaren decided to go on the hard tyres, which I believe, I would have loved to have seen the softs, as I say. But also, Russell was incredibly impressed by the hard tyre pace of that McLaren. Could we possibly see McLaren mount a challenge to score a few victories for the rest of the year? Or is Silverstone an anomaly? Please don't be the latter. We are begging. At the Milcurian Butterfly, congrats on the P2. I think it was a B, but either or, I love this meme. That meme template anyway makes me chuckle, but to stick a fist on is brilliant. If you didn't know what this meme is, it's when he was being given his post-race interview and then was attacked by what looked like a bee, and he just gave it a little fist. Sounds dodgy, that. Moving on. At Krista Warner, me to the McLaren strategist when the hards ended up being the best option. Same. Although I don't know if it was the best option. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Should they have gone on softs? Would it have been better for them potentially? Or do you think the softs would have fallen away at the end and potentially they would have lost a podium that way? Let me know in the comments. And also, whilst you're here, please do click that beautiful subscribe button, because we want you on the P1 adventure. Me as a suffering Ferrari fan, Tommy as a very happy Max Verstappen fan. Come join the P1 fam. At Overview Effect, McLaren putting hard tyres with 20 laps to go. See, look, there was a lot of people that thought they'd done a Ferrari. Now, we won't know if it was a worse strategy, but all we thought at the time was, why is there white-walled tyres on both of the McLarens? Both of them. At Ian Rose, McLaren fans after quali. Well, look, we all thought going into this weekend that the McLaren was just gonna be the McLaren that we've sort of come to expect throughout this season. But Mika Hakkinen, by the way, is the oracle by the sounds of it. He said a few months ago, when McLaren get their upgrades, they might well challenge Red Bull. We all laughed at him. How wrong we were. At Skullgoose123, me watching the race. Norris finished second this time. Look, we have to take the wins when we get them, although it wasn't a win. It's P2 for Lando Norris, which is such an amazing result. The cheer when Lando, and I was part of it, as you can tell by my voice, the cheer that echoed around Silverstone is something I will never forget until the day I die. It was an eruption of elation because we're all sat there, even Max Verstappen fans, Tommy, for example. Even they want something a little bit different, a little bit closer action. And we got it for about, 5 or so laps, and then Verstappen steams up the inside. I was hoping Lando was going to put up a little bit more of a fight, because Max said after the race that his tyres were overheating slightly, and so he was glad to get out in the lead, and so he can manage the pace a bit better. If Lando had maybe just defended a bit harder, could it have changed? Could they have then got Oscar involved? Who knows? But wishful thinking, but still a great result for McLaren. At Ian Rose, hearing the Dutch national anthem for the 183,832nd time, but seeing Lando on the podium. Progress is progress, okay? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Red Bull are still the fastest. They struggled a bit. They still won. They now have 11 wins on the bounce, 6 in a row for Max Verstappen, which, if I'm led to believe correct in terms of the facts I've seen, even Lewis Hamilton has not achieved that. So, yeah, Red Bull doing very well indeed at the moment. Honourable mentions. Okay, we're now on to a segment where we just throw in some funny memes that potentially don't sit in a topic. We had 2 massive topics of McLaren and Ferrari. Wish it wasn't as big for Ferrari, but that's pretty much every weekend. At Formula Latest, welcome to episode 11 of the Max Verstappen podcast, where the drivers sit in the wrong seats. I love the cool-down room. I think there needs to be more done out of it, because the drivers must know that they are recorded there, and yet they are relaxed. They do share a bit of banter between each other, and we all crave that. There needs to be a bit more there, I think. We need more content. I want a 5 minutes, a 10 minutes. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe they don't have that much to say. But it is honestly one of my favourite moments of the weekend, and it's not even on track. At Lobo1 in today's episode of Verstappen's podcast, British Generations. When will the Verstappen podcast end? When will we have the Norris podcast that we thought we might have got? Not yet. At GA_R1997, 10-second penalty for Bernd Mailand over track limits. Look, we can't have a go at him because the drivers always complain. Oh, he's not going fast enough. What is he doing? Oh, he's so slow through here. I mean, first of all, he literally abides by sector times he is told to do in every mini sector. And secondly, he's pushing. We can't have anything to say apart from positivity for Bernd Mailander pushing the limits of that Mercedes. At Sani Anirudh, this week on Max's podcast. I mean, that edit is absolutely incredible. I don't think Annie was the one to actually make this, but big shout out to whoever did it, because that is an amazing Photoshop. This also made me laugh an incredible amount. Even though Fernando Alonso nowhere near the podium, he can still make us laugh. At Harry N. Haynes, Alpine's #1 enemy, revelling in their downfall. I mean, what a timing to have the Constructors' Championship where McLaren leapfrog Alpine and Alonso's smiling in the background. That man. He wouldn't have known that either, but that man. At Mix51, everyone when Verstappen doesn't lead in the first lap. Does that make him, as myself and Tommy predicted, biggest flop for the weekend? Because he didn't, on merit, lead every lap of the British Grand Prix. I'll be pushing for half a point. At the Lurker365, not even the combined powers of Matt Gallagher and Tom Bellingham can bring this one down. Me and Tommy combined. We said, no, not this weekend. And Max said, good joke, I'm still gonna win. I will train my powers. So will Tommy. We will get there eventually. He can't win every race, can he? Frederick knew every time he's not in the lead. So this, I think, is from when Hamilton was in the cool-down room and then said that Lando's car was a rocket ship. I don't know if it's just this meme template just makes me laugh so much, but this is brilliant. Well done, Frederick. And finally, Imsreya7, Max, after seeing both Matt and Tommy giving him biggest flop. I love the amount of you that are getting involved in memes around the podcast now as well, because I know a lot of you spoke to us this weekend saying how much you love the podcast. Thank you for that. And I love the memes that are being made from it as well. Before we head into who has won the tasty tweet from this weekend, big thanks to F123 for sponsoring that segment, I want to just say a very quick thank you to every single one of you who spoke to us during the British Grand Prix. I kid you not, it was the most insane experience I have ever been a part of. From being on the main stage on Sunday at 11:30 and the amount of you that turned up, all the way through to just speaking to each one of you individually about your story of how you've started watching our stuff or the fact that you really enjoy it. It meant the world. Once it all processes in the next few days, I probably will shed a few tears because I can't believe that this is my job, even this many years into doing this. The British Grand Prix, and just any Grand Prix where, we meet so many of you, it just is such an overwhelming experience. The main stage in particular is something, why have they got 2 plebs on the stage? I will never know, but they did. And you turned out I don't even know how many of you were there. We genuinely were quite concerned about how many would turn up. But thank you from the bottom of my heart, and Tommy as well. I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about it in the podcast. But I just wanted to say, in the funniest tweets segment, that I cannot believe this is real. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the best. Right, we've now got Tom Bellingham on the line for Tommy's Tasty Tweet, sponsored by F123. Tommy, who is going to win a wonderful copy of F123 this week?
That would be Modesto 8 for basically roasting our predictions and that Max Verstappen is too powerful for biggest flop.
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed the amount of people that have started making memes about our predictions and about our podcast now as well. So that's quite something to behold. But most of them, are negative about what we say because we don't know wheel.
We don't, but always on to a winner. At least you win a copy of F1 23.
Exactly. Well done, Modestos. We'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.
Right, that is it. Thank you so much for watching the funniest tweets to the 2023 British Grand Prix. Use the hashtag P1 if you want to get involved and potentially win a copy of F123 if you win Tommy's Tasty Tweet. And also a massive thank you to Tommy Hilfiger for sponsoring all of our content this weekend. And you can see we're in this amazing apparel, which I've just been absolutely reveling in all weekend. So a big shout out to them as well. And we'll see you very soon for another piece of content.